First of all, you need to stand properly for this. You need to connect your legs together and straighten them.
Должны быть прижаты вплотную. Мы не разводим их в стороны. И об этом еще сказано в книгах «Сын церковный» и
Heels and socks should be pressed tightly together. We do not share their sides, and this is also mentioned in the books of the Son of the Church and others. Some scriptures mention that if people leave one leg aside and bend the other at the knees and transfer weight from one to the other, then this is a sign of ignorant and relaxed people. Purely physiologically, this position, when the straightened legs are pressed against each other, helps with a prolonged condition. It takes less effort to stand for a long time in prayer. And so, the legs are tightly pressed against each other, the socks and heels together. We do not take the leg aside. We do not bend one leg at the knee. We do not transfer the weight of the body to the other. We do not lean on anything. Of course, there are some diseases in which a person cannot physiologically stand like that, but this is an exception. We will not talk about it. The position of the hands during prayer. We always keep our hands at waist level. We never let them go down. There is not a single time of worship when the hands hang so freely. Even after the completion of the sign of the cross, the arm is pulled back to the belt, never unbends so freely at the elbow. The position of the arms at waist level is a kind of intermediate, because the main position is the arms crossed in this way, crisscross. The hands are hidden under the arms. The right hand lies on top of the left, and the hands are under the arms. And this is also mentioned in many books, even by the ancient Holy Fathers. They say that this position of the body is an imitation of the angelic standing before the eyes of God and expresses reverence. This tradition came to us from Byzantium. In ancient Byzantine manuscripts, miniatures depict people standing in prayer with their arms crossed on their chests. In this way, the whole of Russia prayed. But after the split, only the old believers began to observe this. The dominant Niconian church has abandoned the customs of the ancient church, stating that it is not necessary for salvation. As a result, they had to come up with their own rules and now publish books on how to behave in the temple with their newly invented customs. How the sign of the cross is made. To do this, we bring our right hand forward and the left remains in place. And by connecting your fingers, we make a movement in this way with our hand along a smaller trajectory. The elbow remains pressed against the side. The elbow does not stick out, and the movement should not be sweeping. The trajectory should be short. The movement should be modest and mainly occurs due to the rotation of the hand in the wrist joint. We pay attention to the elbow. It is necessary to touch the fingers clearly to the body so that the body feels. Also, do not beat yourself there with your fingers, as some do. This is an extreme, and you need to bring the movement to the shoulders. You cannot stop the movement halfway. There should be no stopping in this position. This is at least lack of culture. At most, it is just neglect, negligence in prayer, which is completely unacceptable in standing before God. Elbow. It is located near the block. We do not bulge it. And the movements made by rotating the wrist. After we have made the sign of the cross, a waist bow usually follows. Then, after the sign of the cross, we release our fingers and take our hand to the side, to the belt, and this hand stays in place. From this position, we make a bow bending at the hip joints, not at the waist, but at the hip joints, in this place, with a straight back. And a bow is performed. If you mentally draw a line parallel to the ground at waist level, then you need to mentally reach this line with your forehead, and this is such a norm for a waist bow. So we bend at the hip joint. The back is straight and up to the horizontal plane at waist level. This is how it looks like. Now, I'll tell you something else. And it is very important to fill it out and observe it. When we say a prayer, followed by a bow with the banner of the cross, then we need to begin the sign of the cross in such a way as to complete it at the end of the words of prayer, at the last words of prayer, and then we bow. To avoid this, when the prayer is not finished, we have already crossed ourselves and make a bow from the waist. This is completely unacceptable. But now, everyone does it without knowing the order. Separately, it should be said about the customs that exist when pronouncing the Trisagion. When we read Holy God, the sign of the cross must be made in such a way that fingers touch each verse of this prayer. Holy God, holy mighty, holy immortal, have mercy on us. Thus, this custom is ancient and is also now practically not observed. Three popular mistakes that are very common are when they begin to bow before finishing the words of prayer, or without completing the sign of the cross. And when they begin to say a new prayer without straightening up from the bow. Of course, we will have to tell you separately about how to bow to the ground, but that's for next time. For now, these basic rules will be enough.